Hey everybody, John here from the esports department, going over this mixed slate that they just put up for tomorrow morning. A good one here, some big worlds implications. Let's start in North America here, and of course I brought up the playoff pictures so that we can have a look. This is TSM against C9. This matchup is down here in the lower bracket. The winner of this matchup is going to face off against the loser of Team Liquid and FlyQuest. More importantly, NA only gets 3 seeds to Worlds. Team Liquid and FlyQuest have locked themselves in. The winner of this match will join them. I talked about it a little bit on Twitter, but C9 has the longest streak of attending Worlds of any team in the entire world. Even teams like SK Telecom and stuff have not gone to Worlds as many times in a row as Cloud9 have, and this is going to be their match to see if they can keep that streak up. TSM, on the other hand, honestly, I think this matchup is kind of decent for them. I think it's better for them maybe than the Golden Guardians matchup that they just managed to reverse sweep. Mostly because I feel like Golden Guardians has a very pressure-heavy bot lane, and they play around it a decent amount, and TSM's weakness has been their bot lane. Cloud9, on the other hand, that's not really where their strength is. Their strength is in the top half of the map, generally speaking. Licorice, Nisqy, Blabber. Traditionally, that's where the majority of C9's strength is coming from. TSM has Bjergsen, who's played well. I think Spica has played well recently. I think they're going to look to play through Broken Blade in this series if they're smart. Playing through somebody can often neutralize their opponent to some degree, and so I think Cloud9's biggest advantage is kind of being neutralized by the way that TSM is going to want to play this series. So I definitely think both these teams are live. I think the minus 315 is a little heavy on Cloud9. Plus 220 even feels a little heavy. I might end up with a bet on TSM here, even though I think Cloud9 should be the favorites. I'm not sure TSM is this big of an underdog. Statistically, it's kind of a wash towards Cloud9, but this is, for the entire season, and recently Cloud9 has not nearly been on the same level that they were coming into the beginning of the season. So even though the stats are kind of a wash if you look them over, like they're kind of a wipeout for Cloud9, I wouldn't necessarily be super excited that Cloud9's just going to stomp this series. I really hope Cloud9 wins this series. I'm like a big time as a fan. I'm on their side. I think that the matchup's not bad for TSM. I could see TSM winning this one, so I'll probably end up with at least some lineups that include TSM. But just an interesting series there for sure. As far as bloodiness, this should be one of the lower blood series for the day, I would think. We'll have a look at what the projections have to say, but my guess is we're looking at probably a matchup that you could maybe avoid here if you were playing like single entries. This is probably one you could fade away from. The second matchup I talked about in a previous video, but it's also on this slate, so might as well include it. Fnatic and G2. G2 just has never lost to Fnatic, and I know it's just don't go with narratives like that usually, but there's a reason for that. I mean, the playstyle that they play is just so good against the way that Fnatic wants to play, and even this season, Fnatic has looked the worst they've looked in the last 3 splits. I don't see a ton of reason to be involved with Fnatic here. You're going to have better underdogs on this slate, I think. Fnatic feels like the team that I might be able to shy away from on this slate. G2 just never loses to them and has definitely looked better this season, especially the second half of this season. I'd be a little bit surprised if Fnatic came up with a game plan that worked against G2 here. That said, they should be pretty low ownership, and I think this plus 205 number is not that far off of being right. It's probably more like plus 250 for me, but that's still, I mean, if they win 1 in 4 times, even if I only think they win 1 in 4 times, that's still going to be it's still going to be a good DFS play given what their ownership is likely to be on a slate like this. So, looking at the KPW DPL, big 19 for G2, 19.2 death per loss for Fnatic. G2 definitely looking like somebody you might want to be involved with on this slate. If you go with Fnatic, they also look like they're going to project pretty well, but of course when we get to the actual projections, we'll talk about that further. This is the upper bracket matchup for the LEC. The winner of this will go straight to the finals. The loser will drop down to here, where they will play the winner of Rogue and either Mad or Schalke, whoever wins today's matchup that I'm really excited to watch. I'm waiting for that one to go on a couple hours here, and that one should be really, really good. As far as Worlds implications in the LEC, there are none. Fnatic and G2 are going to Worlds, Rogue is going to Worlds, and then the winner of this matchup is going to Worlds. So by the time we see either one of these teams again, the LEC Worlds teams will be locked in. No real thing to mess around with there. just about playoffs here. Going over to the LPL, so they're in their regional gauntlet. This is actually the last LPL match that we will, or the second to last LPL match that we'll watch. So Suning qualified for Worlds last night with their 3-0 sweep of LGD, knocking LGD down into the qualification match here. IG will now play FPX. The winner will play LGD and go to Worlds. So this is 100%. If you want to go to Worlds, you need to win this match for IG and FPX. IG, I think, throughout the entire season was the more impressive team. When you look at their stats, 1831 gold per minute to 1759, a plus 78 gold differential per minute to minus 26. First blood and first turret, it's a mix. First blood to FPX, first turret to IG. Dragon percentage is right about the same, 53 to 52. And gold differential at 15, plus 300 gold for IG, minus 472 for FPX. So IG the better team at 15 minutes. They were the better team overall this season. Their general gold per minute is better. Not a lot of things going in FPX's favor here, especially because what really happened to FPX here is LWX and Tian need to be major carries for this team, and Gimgoon needs to be a late game facilitator for this team in order for them to succeed. Because of the way that Doinby plays, he's not a hyper carry. They call him like the super carry of the LPL, but he's mostly a supportive mid laner that plays champions that accentuate what his teammates are doing. LWX and Crisp in particular have not had a great season. And when they're not having a good season, then it doesn't matter if Doinby is supporting them well, that we need them to be stepping up as well. Tian also has not had a great season, considering he was arguably one of the best players in the world at Worlds last year. So they've gotten a drop-off from basically every role. Doinby hasn't been perfect this season, but he's actually had a pretty good season, I think. The problem is he is there to facilitate his teammates, and his teammates are not having a great time with this metagame right now. IG, on the other hand, it's just so sketchy because, I mean, this is such an IG-favored matchup if you look at it like, a bit ago. But then IG gets swept in the playoffs by LGD, who then go on to get 6-0'd by Suning. Very worrisome that they got destroyed by a team who then was destroyed very badly by everyone else that they've played. Makes it very worrisome for IG. I definitely think you could play either side of this matchup and not be too worried about it. I think both these teams are very capable of winning this, especially since we don't exactly know what we're going to get with Invictus after that loss to LGD. That's really scary for Invictus. I do think the stats point that Invictus should win this matchup, but that loss to LGD is very, very scary considering that LGD has not looked good against anyone else, and they came out and just put a beating on IG. So be aware of that as well. Both sides seem playable. Should be a pretty bloody series. Let's see what the projections have to say about this. Looking at the favorites, it would be IG, G2, and Cloud9. It likes IG to be the best, followed by G2, Cloud9, and last. That's kind of what I thought. IG, G2, Cloud9. In the mid lane, it switches with Caps going up top, but C9 remaining in last. At 80 carry, Perk stays on top, C9 in last. Excuse me. And this is a mistake from Fantasy Labs that I'm sure they'll fix. They have Biofrost on the wrong team right now. So at support, they have G2 on top again with IG. So they think G2 is going to be the highest scorer in 3 out of 5 positions, I believe. Yeah. So G2 and IG showing up the best. It's pretty reasonable differences down to the Cloud9 players. A 6-point difference at 80 carry, a 21-point difference at mid lane. Only a couple points in the jungle, about 8 points in the top lane, and a couple points at support. The difference between C9 and the other teams. So if you're playing single entry, you probably want to go with the Chinese matchup and the EU matchup in some combination. They seem like they're going to be significantly bloodier. If you're playing cash, let's see, G2 and Cloud9 come in as the biggest favorites. Let's see what the different possibilities we can get with the favorites are, just to see if it might be worth doing anything else. It's a top lane captain to get those two. So G2 C9 projects at 945.2. A top lane captain lineup with 4 G2 players. You do get 4 G2, which is a pretty big deal. If we go to G2 and Invictus, we get a Jungle Captain, 981.2. Sorry guys, my throat today. We get a Jungle Captain, 981.2. It's a 3/3. Looks like it plays both the carries and the jungler of G2, and then the other 3 for IG. Let me try rerunning with the teams balanced out just to be sure. Let me add Cloud9 back in. Let me go back and do Cloud9 and G2 again just to see if it changes with the teams balanced out. 934.1. And then when we go to G2 and IG, 976.8. So a pretty big gap there. What happens if we switch to IG and Cloud9, the last combination? 969.1. So if you believe in IG, the highest ceiling version of the lineup is IG G2, and that gets you 976.8. It's a jungle captain, 4 G2 players with Ning and the Shy. That seems pretty reasonable to me if you have a belief in IG. I think IG is going to come out and win this series, so I think I'm probably more likely to lean this way. You don't need to be insanely confident in them, but you need to think that they're going to be like at least 60% in order to want to make this your lineup. I think they probably are, so I probably go with IG G2 here. You could switch it up and just go with the safer option. The thing about going with the safer option, like if you play Cloud9 and G2, it's not like it's impossible for Cloud9 to outscore IG. So it's not like every time IG wins, you're just going to lose. Sometimes Cloud9 will outscore IG. So you can go for the safer option if you want. It does have a significantly lower ceiling, 42 points lower on expectation. So I think this one makes a lot of sense. Ning actually I think is in a pretty good position in that series against FPX as well, so you're getting a decent captain. I'm assuming you can't, you couldn't swap this to Yanko's captain, it wouldn't fit. So it's doing this, the reverse. That seems like a really great GPP lineup too, honestly, probably something I'll end up playing. So that's what we got going on for this slate, guys. Kind of an interesting little slate. Probably for ownerships, I'm guessing you're going to look at G2, let's see, probably G2, C9, IG, FPX, TSM, and Fnatic. This makes the most sense, I think. If you're trying to get the biggest leverage, I think Fnatic and TSM makes sense. It's possible TSM and FPX are mixed. I could see TSM being the 4th highest and FPX the 5th highest, but I do think the favorites will be the highest owned and Fnatic will be the lowest. So, hopefully my throat clears up here before I have to do another video. But this is a pretty good slate. I'm going to have a lot of lineups in on this one. You can go some 3-teamers on here. I would definitely say give it a shot, trying to get some different lineups, playing some weird teams, some weird team setups in this slate. It's a 20K to first, which we haven't been getting a lot lately, so this is a good spot for it, I think. So have a good luck on this one, guys. I'm going to be doing my best. You'll definitely see me probably maxing out the 15 and playing the 333 on this slate. I think it's a good one. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one and good luck.